Congratulations, Mira Blackwood. You've been selected to represent humanity in the Galactic Trials. Mira looked up from the engine she was dismantling, her face smeared with grease, and blinked at the holographic notification hovering above her workspace. I've been what now? Selected. Chosen. Volunteered. The AI assistant's cheerful voice continued as Mira frantically wiped her hands on her already filthy overalls. Your name was randomly selected from Earth's population registry. What an honor. That doesn't sound like something I signed up for, Mira mumbled, reaching for her coffee mug only to find it empty. What exactly are these galactic trials? The AI's avatar, a spinning blue cube, transformed into a dramatic arena scene with miniature aliens fighting. Only the most prestigious combat tournament in the known universe. Species compete for resource rights, trade routes, and galactic prestige. Mira squinted. Combat? As in fighting? As in me fighting? Indeed. Your transport arrives in 3 hours. Act light. 2 days later, Mira stood gaping at the enormous crystal dome of the Galactic Arena, a structure that made Earth's largest stadium look like a backyard swimming pool. Thousands of bizarre alien species filled the stands, creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and sounds she couldn't begin to describe. Human female Mira Blackwood. A gravelly voice interrupted her awestruck staring. She turned to face something that resembled a cross between a horseshoe crab and a bodybuilder, with 4 arms and iridescent blue-green plates covering muscular limbs. That's me. And you are, Krell. Your assigned mentor. The alien's mouthparts clicked in what Mira interpreted as displeasure. I have been instructed to prepare you for combat. Look, there's been a mistake. I'm a mechanic, not a fighter. Krell's eye stalk swiveled independently, one focusing on her face while the other scanned her body. Obviously. You are small, soft, and your exoskeleton is non-existent. Pathetic. Thanks for the assessment. However, Krell continued, I am contractually obligated to train you until your inevitable defeat or death, whichever comes first. That's reassuring. Your species' capacity for sarcasm was not exaggerated. Krell gestured with 2 arms. Follow me to the competitors' quarters. Try not to make eye contact with the Krongan delegation. They consider it a mating invitation. Mira sighed, hefting her duffel bag. Any other cultural missteps I should avoid that might get me killed before the actual fighting starts? Countless. I've prepared a 70-page manual. Of course you have. As they navigated through corridors teeming with alien athletes, officials, and drones, Mira caught snippets of conversation. The human representative's softest species in the quadrant betting pool gives 10,000 to 1 odds. Krell paused outside a door that slid open to reveal Spartan quarters. Your habitat. Environmental controls are adjusted for your species' requirements. Mira dropped her bag on the bed. So, Coach Krell, when do we start this training regimen that's supposed to keep me alive? All 4 of Krell's arms crossed simultaneously, immediately. Though I calculate a 99.87% probability that my efforts will be wasted. Has anyone ever told you that you have a wonderful bedside manner? I do not understand this reference, but I detect it is unfavorable. Krell's plates rippled in what might have been a sigh. The first round begins tomorrow. We have 18 standard hours to teach you not to die within the first 10 seconds. Only 10. You're giving me more credit than I expected. Rule 1, Krell announced, pacing the training room floor while Mira attempted to lift a weapon that looked like a cross between a broadsword and a tuning fork. Don't die. Profound. Mira grunted, finally getting the unwieldy thing upright. Is Rule 2 try to win? No. Rule 2 is also don't die, but with greater emphasis. Krell snatched the weapon from her hands with disturbing ease. This isn't for you. Your arms lack the necessary musculature. Then what am I supposed to fight with? Krell studied her for a moment. Humans possess reasonable agility for non-tentacled species. Evasion may be your only viable strategy. A holographic display flickered to life showing a tournament bracket. Mira spotted her name at the bottom, paired against something called Drazkar of the Vorax. Who's my opponent? Krell's eye stalks drooped noticeably. The 7-time champion of the lower quadrant, and defeated in 43 combat sequences. The display shifted to show footage of a massive, reptilian creature with obsidian scales and what appeared to be far too many joints in its limbs. It moved like liquid shadow, disarming and incapacitating its opponent in seconds. That's not ideal. The selection committee has a peculiar sense of humor, Krell observed. Or they're simply expediting the inevitable. A chime sounded, and the training room door slid open to admit a procession of aliens in formal attire. At their center walked the creature from the hologram Drazkar, even more intimidating in person. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, its scales caught the light like polished stone, and its amber eyes fixed on Mira with predatory focus. Ah, it purred in a voice like velvet over gravel at the human specimen. I requested to inspect my opponent before our match. Mira straightened her shoulders. Well, inspect away, though I charge by the hour for staring contests. A ripple passed through Drazkar's entourage, either laughter or collective indigestion. Mira couldn't tell. Spirited, Drazkar commented, circling her slowly. But spirit alone won't save you in the arena, little mammal. You'd be surprised what I can pull off when properly motivated. Getting my organs kept inside my body seems like solid motivation. Drazkar's lipless mouth curved into what might have been a smile. I will make it quick, out of respect for your journey here. Don't do me any favors, Mira replied, maintaining eye contact despite Krell's subtle head shake warning. After Drazkar and his entourage departed, Krell's plates rippled in agitation. You antagonized the deadliest competitor in the tournament. I was being friendly. Friendly would have been prostrating yourself and acknowledging his superiority. Not really my style. Later that day, Mira wandered the competitors' concourse, a massive circular hallway lined with viewing screens, food dispensaries, and betting kiosks. She paused at one, curious about the odds. Interested in wagering? Asked a gelatinous purple being operating the kiosk. Just checking how badly everyone expects me to lose. The alien's translucent body rippled with amusement. Current odds have you at 15,000 to 1. Would you like to place a bet against yourself? Many competitors do. Good way to profit from inevitable defeat. Tempting, but I left my wallet in my other dimension. As she turned away, she collided with a tall, willowy being with silver skin and 4 arms. Sorry, she started, then recognized the insignia on their garment, another competitor. No apology necessary, they said, voice musical. I am Pel Toro of the Lumidian Collective. You are the human, yes? The one facing Drazkar tomorrow? That's me. The sacrificial lamb. Pel Toro's head tilted. I do not know this term, but I sense resignation. I know that all beings face their challenges differently. Some find strength in unexpected places. Thanks for the fortune cookie wisdom. I do not know this reference either, but I wish you survival, human Mira. They pressed something small and metallic into her palm, a token from my world. It is said to bring clarity in moments of chaos. Before Mira could respond, Pel Toro glided away, leaving her holding what looked like a tiny silver gyroscope that hummed faintly against her skin. Again, Krell barked as Mira picked herself up from the training mat for what felt like the 100th time. You know, she panted, wiping sweat from her forehead, for someone convinced I'm going to lose, you're surprisingly committed to this training. Professional pride, Krell replied, resetting the combat drone. I have never had a student die in the first round. So we're aiming for second round death? I'm ambitious. The drone whirred to life, its limbs configured to approximate Drazkar's fighting style. It lunged at Mira, who managed to duck the first strike but caught the second full in the stomach, sending her sprawling again. Your reaction speed is inadequate, Krell observed, and your pain response is curious. Mira groaned, rolling onto her side. What's curious about ouch? You should be incapacitated, yet you continue to function. The force applied would neutralize most species. That's just human stubbornness. She staggered to her feet. We're like cockroaches, hard to kill, and we show up where we're not wanted. Krell deactivated the drone. Eye stalks converging in what Mira had learned was an expression of intense thought. Perhaps we have been approaching this incorrectly. Tell me about human combat techniques. I fix engines for a living. My combat technique is cursing when I hit my thumb with a wrench. There must be something. How do humans typically defend themselves? Mira shrugged. We run away, make ourselves look big to scare predators, play dead. Play dead. Yeah, pretend to be dead so the predator loses interest. Krell's plates shifted in what might have been disbelief. This is an actual strategy employed by your species? For some animals, yeah. Not sure it works on alien gladiators. Fascinating. Krell made a notation on a tablet. What other physiological peculiarities do humans possess? Over the next several hours, Mira found herself subjected to a battery of tests as Krell documented human capabilities, endurance, surprisingly good, reflexes, decidedly average, pain tolerance, unexpectedly high, and recuperative abilities. Krell seemed genuinely impressed by how quickly bruises changed color. Your species heals efficiently, Krell noted, watching Mira apply a cold pack to her shoulder, and your ability to continue functioning despite injury exceeds standard expectations. We call it walking it off, Mira explained, ancient human medical technique. When Krell insisted on testing her core strength, Mira introduced the concept of planking, which led to the surreal experience of teaching an alien with 4 arms and an exoskeleton how to do a proper push-up. This serves no combat purpose, Krell complained, awkwardly positioning their limbs. Neither does half of what we've been doing, Mira countered. But if I'm going down tomorrow, at least I'll have the satisfaction of knowing I taught an alien crab to do calisthenics. That evening, word spread among the competitors about the strange human training methods. Curious aliens gathered outside the training room viewport, watching in bewilderment as Mira led Krell through jumping jacks. What purpose does this repetitive motion serve? Demanded an octopoid being. Cardio, Mira answered cheerfully, enjoying the confusion, critical for human combat preparation. By the time she'd introduced the concept of the worm as an evasive maneuver, a small crowd had gathered, recording the spectacle. Several species attempted to replicate the movement with their non-human anatomies, resulting in a scene that resembled an intergalactic dance-off more than combat training. Krell, initially mortified, eventually recognized the strategic value of appearing ridiculous. Your opponents will underestimate you even more now, they conceded as they escorted Mira back to her quarters. Though I fail to see how this improves your survival chances. Mira grinned. Sometimes confusion is the best defense. The night before the match, Mira sat cross-legged on her bed, disassembling and reassembling the small gyroscope Pel Toro had given her. The mechanical puzzles soothed her nerves the way engine work always did. A chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal Krell, carrying what appeared to be a data tablet and a container of something steaming. I have brought sustenance, they announced, setting down the container. And the wagering update. Let me guess, the odds of me surviving have plummeted further. Surprisingly, no. Krell's eye stalks quivered with what might have been amusement. After your training demonstration, several beings have placed wagers on you. The theory circulating is that humans must possess secret combat abilities that you are cleverly concealing. Mira snorted. If only they knew. Indeed. Krell gestured to the food. This is compatible with human digestion. High protein content for muscle recovery. Thanks. She pried open the lid to find something resembling blue scrambled eggs. For someone convinced I'm doomed, you're being awfully considerate. Krell's plates shifted in what Mira had come to recognize as embarrassment, a professional obligation. She took a tentative bite, not terrible, kind of like eggs with blueberry undertones. So what's your real story, coach? How'd you get stuck babysitting Earth's most mediocre representative? The alien settled onto a reinforced chair. Okay. I was once a competitor. 7 cycles ago. What happened? I lost. Not spectacularly enough to die, not impressively enough to be remembered. Krell's voice carried a note Mira hadn't heard before, something close to regret. The galactic arena recycles its failures. Those with knowledge, but without glory, become trainers for the next generation. That's actually kind of sad. It is practical. Krell's eye stalks focused on her. Your species places high value on victory. Sometimes. We also value not being jerks to each other. Usually. She shrugged. Look, I know tomorrow's not going to end well for me, but I appreciate you trying, even if it's just professional obligation. A soft chime from the door interrupted them. It slid open to reveal Peltoro, their silver skin luminous in the dim light. Forgive the intrusion, they said. I wish to ensure you were adequately prepared for tomorrow. Krell's plates bristled. The human is under my guidance. Of course. Peltoro inclined their head respectfully. I merely offer information, not interference. Mira patted the bed beside her. I'll take all the help I can get. What's up? Peltoro glided into the room. Drazkar has a pattern. He begins each match with an intimidation display, extending his frills, displaying his claws. This performance lasts precisely 4.3 seconds. During this time, he is actually at his most vulnerable. Vulnerable how? His weight shifts forward. His optical membranes close to protect from debris. In this moment, he is very briefly unbalanced. Krell's eye stalk swiveled to Peltoro. This information seems precise. I have faced him in previous cycles. Peltoro replied simply. I survived. Barely. Why tell me this? Mira asked. Peltoro's luminescent eyes dimmed slightly. Because the Galactic Trials are designed for established powers to maintain their advantage. New species are intentionally placed against champions to discourage future participation. Their voice softened. It is unfair. Welcome to the universe. Mira sighed, but thanks for the tip. After Peltoro departed, Krell seemed agitated. The Lumidian's information may be a trap, or it might be the only useful advice I've gotten since arriving. Mira returned to fiddling with the gyroscope. No offense. Your assessment is accurate. Krell paused by the door. Rest well, human Mira. Tomorrow will be challenging. That's one word for it. Left alone, Mira finished her blue eggs and continued manipulating the gyroscope, which had begun emitting a soft, pulsing glow. As she aligned the final ring, the device projected a holographic sequence movements, positions, timing diagrams. Well, hello there, Mira murmured, studying the projection with increasing interest. Now this is something I can work with. She spent the next several hours memorizing the sequence, her mechanic's mind breaking down the physics and biomechs into familiar components. When she finally slept, her dreams were filled with gears, levers, and perfectly timed counter-motions. The galactic arena hummed with the excited murmurs of 80,000 spectators representing over 300 species. Holographic displays magnified the combat floor, a circular platform 500 feet in diameter, at its surface a mosaic of different terrains designed to advantage or disadvantage various physiologies. Mira stood in the preparation chamber, rolling her shoulders while Krell fussed with her minimal protective gear. Remember, Krell instructed, evasion is your priority. Survival beyond 3 minutes would be considered impressive for your species' debut. Thanks for the vote of confidence. I am being realistic. Krell adjusted a shoulder pad. However, I find myself hoping you exceed expectations. Mira grinned. Careful, coach. That almost sounds like sentiment. Before Krell could respond, the chamber illuminated with flashing indicators. It is time, they announced, stepping back. May your soft, inadequate body serve you better than probability suggests. That might be the nicest thing you've ever said to me. The platform beneath her feet began to rise, elevating her into the arena proper. The crowd's noise hit her like a physical force, clicks, screeches, warbles, and the occasional recognizable cheer blending into a wall of sound. Across the arena floor, another platform rose, bearing the imposing figure of Drazkar. The Vorax champion wore ceremonial armor that accentuated his already impressive physique, obsidian scales gleaming under the arena lights. A disembodied voice boomed across the stadium, translating simultaneously into thousands of languages. Honored beings, welcome to the 742nd Galactic Trials. The crowd's response nearly deafened Mira. Today's opening match, Drazkar of the Vorax, 7-time champion and master of the silent kill. Drazkar raised all 4 arms, basking in adulation. Versus Mira Blackwood of Earth, first human competitor in Galactic Trials history. The reaction to her name was a mixture of curious murmurs and what sounded suspiciously like laughter. The combatants approached the center. Mira walked forward, hyper-aware of every step, every subtle shift in the arena floor's texture. Drazkar moved with liquid grace, his longer stride bringing him to the center well before her. They faced each other across 10 feet of space. Up close, Drazkar was even more intimidating, nearly twice her height, with muscles rippling beneath scales that looked harder than steel. The combatants acknowledge. Drazkar performed an elaborate bow, never taking his amber eyes off Mira. I acknowledge this combat and honor my opponent with a clean death. Mira nodded. What he said, minus the death part, a ripple of something surprise? Amusement? It passed through the nearby spectators. The combat begins at the signal. Weapons are restricted to natural physiologies. Victory by submission, incapacitation, or the announcer paused dramatically fatality. Mira took a deep breath, centering herself the way she did before tackling particularly complex engine problems. This was just mechanics, action and reaction, force and counterforce, timing and leverage. The signal, a piercing tone that vibrated through her bones, sounded. Drazkar immediately launched into his intimidation display. Just as Peltora described, frills extended from his neck and shoulders, claws extended, and his massive frame seemed to expand. 4.3 seconds. In that moment, Mira saw it all with crystal clarity: the slight forward shift in his weight, the momentary closing of his inner eyelids, the subtle extension of his right side, leaving his left flank exposed. Every instinct screamed at her to dodge, to dive aside, to evade the coming attack. She didn't move. The arena fell silent. Drazkar launched forward, clawed hands sweeping toward her in a blow designed to disembowel. And Mira stepped into it. Not away. Into. Her body rotated precisely 47 degrees. Her left hand shot upward at exactly the angle the gyroscope had shown her, fingers rigid, targeting the exact spot where scale met scale, at Drazkar's throat. Her hand connected with a sound like a tuning fork being struck. For one frozen moment, nothing happened. Then Drazkar, 7-time champion, undefeated warrior, apex predator, dropped like a stone. The silence in the arena deepened to something approaching the vacuum of space. Mira stood over her fallen opponent. As surprised as anyone, she looked up at the nearest camera drone and shrugged. Would you look at that? Victory to Mira Blackwood of Earth. The announcement echoed through the still stunned arena. Medics rushed to Drazkar's prone form, while officials consulted rulebooks and precedents. Mira found herself escorted back to the preparation chamber where Krell waited, all 4 arms trembling. That was unexpected, the alien managed. You think you're surprised? Mira collapsed onto a bench. I was at least 60% sure I was about to become alien Chow. What did you do to him? The neural disruptor technique you employed is not in any human combat database. Mira pulled out Peltoro's gyroscope. Let's just say I had good intel and better luck. Before Krell could respond, the door slid open to admit a procession of official-looking aliens, their formal robes indicating high status in the Galactic Assembly. The human Mira Blackwood addressed the leader, a tall being with crystalline features. Your victory has created a situation. Is Drazkar okay? She asked, genuinely concerned. The champion lives, though his pride may never recover. The crystalline being produced a data tablet. Our concern is more bureaucratic. You see, the odds against your victory were so astronomical that several major trade conglomerates have been bankrupted by payout requirements. Sorry? Additionally, continued another official, this one resembling an upright caterpillar, your technique appears nowhere in our combat databases. Accusations of unauthorized augmentation have been filed. Krell stepped forward. The human used no forbidden enhancements. I monitored her preparation personally. Nevertheless, a full examination is required. The next several hours passed in a blur of medical scans, interrogations, and increasingly bizarre tests of Mira's physiological capabilities. Finally, she was escorted to a formal hearing chamber where representatives from 24 spacefaring civilizations awaited. After thorough investigation, announced the crystalline being, we have reached a conclusion regarding human Mira Blackwood's unexpected victory. The room hushed. The human possesses no illegal augmentations or enhancements. Her victory, while statistically improbable to the 99th percentile, appears to be the result of 3 factors. A holographic display activated, showing Mira's medical scans alongside recordings of the brief combat. First, the human species possesses unprecedented pattern recognition capabilities, allowing competitor Blackwood to identify and exploit a vulnerability in champion Drazkar's technique. Mira suppressed a smile, thinking of the gyroscope and her years of mechanical diagnostics. Second, human physiology includes unexpectedly dense nerve clusters in the fingertips, which, when applied with precise force to the pressure point between Voraxian throat scales, produces a neural cascade effect. Third, and most significantly, competitor Blackwood demonstrated a cognitive approach we have classified as mechanical intuition, is treating biological systems as mechanical ones with predictable failure points. The caterpillar-like official leaned forward. Competitor Blackwood, our records indicate you are a mechanic. Yes, I fix engines mostly. And you approached combat the same way you would approach a mechanical problem. Mira shrugged. If it has moving parts, it can break down. Dead bodies are just organic machines when you think about it. A murmur passed through the assembly. This perspective is unique, admitted the crystalline being, and potentially quite valuable. The formal hearing concluded with 2 unexpected announcements. First, Mira would advance to the next round of the trials. Second, the Galactic Assembly had voted to fast-track humanity for full membership, a process normally requiring decades of probationary status. Later, back in her quarters, Mira found Krell waiting for her. You have created quite the stir, human Mira. Their tone carried something that might have been respect. The betting pools for your next match have crashed 3 major financial networks. Does that mean people are betting for me or against me? Both, in unprecedented numbers. Krell's plates shifted in what she now recognized as amusement. You should know that I have been promoted. The assembly was impressed with my innovative training techniques. Mira laughed. You mean the jumping jacks? Indeed. I am now designated as Earth's permanent coach for all future trials. Lucky you. A chime announced another visitor, Peltoro, bearing what appeared to be a bottle of something iridescent. I come to celebrate your victory, they announced, and to collect my winnings. I placed a substantial wager on you. You knew I could win? Mira asked, accepting a glass of the shimmering liquid. I calculated a possibility, which was more than others allowed. Peltoro's silver skin rippled with amusement. The gyroscope merely provided information. You determined how to use it. Krell extended all 4 arms in a formal gesture to the human Mira Blackwood, who has taught this old trainer that sometimes the most effective approach is the one that appears most foolish. And to humans, added Peltoro, raising their glass, who look at the most fearsome warrior in the galaxy and see nothing but a faulty engine in need of repair. Mira grinned, clinking her glass against theirs, to humanity's secret weapon, turning everything into a mechanical problem. As they drank, her datapad chimed with an incoming message from Earth's governing council, frantically requesting information about her victory and the sudden flood of alien trade delegations arriving in orbit. The message ended with a single question. What exactly did you tell them about human capabilities? Mira typed a quick reply, Nothing they didn't figure out themselves. By the way, you might want to start recruiting more mechanics for the next trials. Turns out we're natural galactic gladiators. Who knew? Isa, as she set down the datapad, she couldn't help but smile at the thought of Earth's officials trying to explain to the population that humanity's place in the galactic community had been secured not by diplomats or soldiers, but by a mechanic who approached an alien champion like a faulty carburetor. Sometimes the best weapon wasn't a weapon at all, just a different way of seeing the universe.